This is a presentation on algorithmic fate, an exploration of AI's ability to predict the course of destiny. And we're going to discuss how AI is evolving to predict and even influence human outcomes. I do want to forewarn everyone here in the room, it's going to include some theoretical concepts and some discussions about certain things that don't necessarily exist, but I think it is essential for us to get in front of and know about that these changes are happening, because we don't want to get behind the 8 ball in the future. So with that being said, here's a little bit about my background. Who am I? I currently run Barcode Security Services, but my overall journey spans from consulting, podcasting, indie filmmaking, and public speaking. And newly appointed IONS faculty member, previously served on the board of InfraGard for the Delaware chapter. Where am I? I'm not hard to find. I mean, LinkedIn is probably where I'm the most active, or email me. I'd love to chat further. Okay, so again, to level set, it's important to show, I think, the evolution of predictive AI. It all starts with the data. So generative AI models, especially LLMs like ChatGPT, ones we're all familiar with, collect and process an ungodly amount of information. I had to look this up, but I think 570 gigs corpus of data is where they started, and now over 10 million queries per day. Not to mention all the data harvesting that happens from Google and big tech in the background that I think are ultimately feeding commercial LLMs without us knowing, but that's a different talk. So we know that those types of LLMs aren't truly thinking, but their design algorithm allows them to make predictions based on their corpus of data, creating responses that often mimic human reasoning. These types of abilities can and often do lead to highly accurate predictions in areas like customer service, medical diagnostics, and even our judicial process. But this introduces the question, if AI can closely predict those use cases, is it possible to scale that out over time, increase accuracy to where it can accurately predict and or influence life-altering events? So if you take a quick look at this graph on the right, it visually represents AI's predictive evolution. Don't worry if you can't see it, I'm going to make these slides available after the talk. But it basically shows how predictive AI has evolved from basic rule-based systems in the 1950s all the way up through modern day with our sophisticated models capable of replicating a human's thought process. So advancements within predictive analysis have become extremely useful and accurate in everyday life. Amazon's product recommendation engine is one we probably see on a daily basis, or Google's Neural GCM, which is their weather prediction model. So we are all familiar again with how AI is shaping businesses and industries like finance, healthcare, education, and urban planning, and we know its power to influence decision-making that impacts millions of people. But I think what often goes unnoticed and unseen is some of the research, the underground research and underground theories that focus on predictive abilities that consequently affect the human trajectory. So we're going to go a little bit off of the beaten path now, and get into some pretty crazy topics that most people haven't given much thought to. I think here is one perspective that I've encountered and found very interesting. It revolves around consciousness and temporal entanglement. Essentially, show how the future might influence the present. And the two main components here are non-local information space and temporal entanglement. So let me just explain a little bit about those two. So non-local information space, it's like a global information web where knowledge and consciousness are connected no matter where or when they exist. So example, imagine a group chat where everybody's thoughts and ideas just appear instantly, no matter where they are. I think that's a pretty simple way to think about how non-local spaces could work. Temporal entanglement, this introduces the possibility of the present being influenced by significant future events. So imagine a future milestone acting as a gravitational pull, pulling in present actions into alignment to ensure it actually happens. I think one great example here would be the most recent election cycle, where we had current events that were being influenced by something that was going to ultimately happen in the future. Again, very rudimentary explanation. So researchers have found that these future anchors help steer our actions. Think about how your actions would change if you had to prepare for a major presentation for work. That future event would then become a guidepost for your preparation. This image here is pretty straightforward. It's a simple illustration of how a strong future event, which I know it's hard to see, says future anchor there, creates a feedback loop with the present, influencing current actions and decisions through temporal entanglement. With that all being said, you layer on the AI effect, and the purpose of this research really was that AI can tap into patterns that resemble these anchors, using data to make decisions that align with future trends or goals. Using AI and analytics to scour the web, analyzing company data points that exist out there today, could lead to better output for, let's say, purchasing stocks, for example. And then you extrapolate that over millions of individual data points per individual, and that's what we're looking at. This next one is pretty interesting too. It's focused on what they termed ASI, which is essentially artificial PSI intelligence. And here we're not even talking about your standard day-to-day human. We've all heard about people that have telekinesis, clairvoyance, mental telepathy, and now there's a study that states AI may be able to turn that from an occasional instance into something that everyone has access to. It's an emerging field, exploring whether AI can emulate abilities such as telepathy, precognition, through a collaboration with humans. And just to level set, human-based PSI, what we typically hear of, refers to human-claimed abilities such as telepathy, precognition, psychokinesis, things that are often described as intuitive or paranormal phenomena beyond conventional science. Studies and scientific research in human PSI happens today, and it's seeking to understand how these experiences connect with consciousness, creativity, and potential insights into the human mind's untapped capabilities. With that AI layer, again, as a partner, the idea is that since AI already serves as a tool that can amplify human creativity and intention through data analysis, randomization, and feedback, if a collaboration were to be formed, could it enhance PSI-like capabilities? The concept is that to demonstrate how AI can support intuitive wisdom, inspire art, and act as a bridge between human consciousness and computational creativity. This was actually, there was some research done. I put a link down there at the bottom to actually go into the research. It's about a 45-page research study. If this is something that interests you, I would definitely look at that. Again, I'll have this in the slide deck that I print out later. But essentially, they ran several small, informal experiments around this to see if AI could mimic PSI abilities in 3 areas. So sensing, acting, and thinking. And overall, what they found was that it wasn't conclusive, that there was definitely some alignments, but no concrete evidence of true psychic connections. But definitely some eerily similar results. So again, inconclusive. So what if AI models could decode your brain activity, interpret your imagination, and turn images from your mind into reality? Well, recent research conducted by teams from Osaka University and other institutions published in the 2022-2023 timeframe say it is possible that AI can now decode brain activity and reconstruct highly visual high definition images using stable diffusion and GANs to bridge the gap between neural signals and visual perception. The research relies on functional MRI, or fMRI, to capture detailed patterns of brain activity. And by applying advanced generative AI models, researchers were able to successfully reconstruct or recreate images that represented what individuals are either seeing or imagining. And I think this marks a monumental milestone in understanding and visualizing brain function. The process maps brain signals to visual images by using fMRI for spatial precision and pairing it with Gen AI models. When you add in EEG integration, which could enhance the system by capturing rapid brain activity, this could be proven to enable real-time predictions. So together, these technologies make it possible to visualize thoughts and images with incredible accuracy. You talk about the implications and applications stemming from this ability. You're looking at being able to possibly diagnose neural and psychological conditions more rapidly and accurately, uncover ways and methods for developing technology for brain-to-device communication. And then obviously on the flip side, there are the ethical concerns with now the ability to read someone's thoughts, memories, and intentions, as well as the potential to protect someone's future actions, choices, and behaviors. And I think that we've all seen this movie, Minority Report. So when you think about it, this could potentially be, the real life Minority Report. Just imagine being able to, arrest someone before a crime is committed if this gets out of control. Take a look at this. This is wild. These are AirPods with brain-computer interface technology. Apple now has a patent for. So Apple now has a patent to include this functionality in future generations of their AirPods. Directly from the site, practical applications include, but aren't limited to, controlling music playback and other services through thought, navigating devices or environments with thought, providing medical insights such as detecting cognitive decline or mental health problems, assisting people with disabilities like controlling wheelchairs or assistive devices. So essentially, this is an external BCI. So yeah, in terms of brain decoding models, here's a real world example of how technology companies are actually going to be using this. So continuing down the ethical path, I think this is probably the most important slide when it comes to this topic of AI and humanity. AI's impact on free will, privacy, and autonomy. And by the way, when it comes to free will, go pick up Win Schwartz's book called The Art of the Meta War, which goes down this path. It's all about how social media and large corporations, we still have the ability to have free will, but we're being manipulated in ways by the stimuli that's around us and presented to us. So it's definitely an eye-opening perspective. Practical applications here, what you need to consider: decision-making, bias and fairness, emotional guidance or misguidance. For an example of emotional misguidance, take a look at this news clip, and hopefully I have audio here. I don't think it's playing here. Basically, I'll explain the video. When you get the deck later, you can watch it. But it was a news story that dropped earlier this year that there was a teen that committed suicide based on his conversation with, I believe it was character AI. Very, very sad. It's a sad truth. And it's not the first time that I've heard it. So that's one implication that definitely has some ethical weight to it. And then on the flip side of that, you have AI Jesus. I don't know if anybody's heard of AI Jesus yet. AI Jesus, can I get an amen? So AI Jesus was basically put into place in a church in Switzerland, which is basically a virtual confession booth with response from an AI. So again, it's, as you can probably imagine, it's been very controversial, and there's a lot to read on it. So we won't go down that path, but which goes right into the next bullet of social, religious, and political ramifications around this. So advocacy groups that strongly adhere to their own belief system could, conflict with a lot of these theories and concepts. The Hippocratic Oath. Does anyone know what the Hippocratic Oath is? Awesome. So, from my understanding, it's something that every physician has to take when becoming a physician. It's been around since the times of ancient Greece, but essentially means that doctors will do no harm. And I think it's relatable here because it begs the concept of what is harm. How do you define harm? It becomes very subjective. The need for ethical frameworks to govern predictive AI and to do that on a global scale, which I think is key. We're going to have to move the lines of ethics and societal acceptability of what we conceive as the dividing line of fantasy and reality. Again, a lot of people aren't willing to accept these theories. But at the same time, we have to stop looking at ourselves as these celestial containers, and we will have to become universally normalized in order for this to actually happen. Considerations, what are the legal frameworks around this? How does development occur? And then again, how do we implement that at scale without stifling innovation and research? Because we definitely don't want to hold that back. All right, here are three quick bullet points that I don't think we can ignore when we're talking about AI's impact on fate and human outcomes. So AI-fueled warfare. I'm sure you saw that Google just found the first zero-day in SQLite. This was a Google looking at it from a purple team perspective. And essentially, the Western cultures here have already agreed that we're not going to use AI for weaponization and increased military presence, but that's only from the Western countries. So if you look at China or Iran, what are they capable of doing? So when you mix that in, now with AI, could a country with a dedicated offensive security team, custom LLMs, could that be the next wave of APTs and be completely unmanned? It's crazy to think about. Let's see. AI-fueled medical procedures. So consider AI's capability to accelerate healing time or design augmentation abilities that may allow people to rehabilitate faster or function more efficiently than ever. On the flip side of that, what happens if the data store is compromised? We all know that AIs are only as good as the data, so if you could corrupt the data store, then you could potentially cause disruption within surgeries, diagnosis, medications, health plans, and more. Something I also recently read about that I thought was cool was I believe it was in New Jersey, they just unleashed a $900 million hospital that features AI-powered technology such as smart beds, ambient-powered AI technology, which is really the next generation and what I think we'll see more with AI nurses and smart hospital beds. AI-fueled transportation. Okay, I'm good. We all know about this one. So this is the intersection between human and AI-driven transportation or AI transportation. So ideally, you have this notion of enhanced safety with the intention of saving lives by reducing accidents, assisting drivers, detecting maintenance issues, things like that. But then you also have instances like the Waymo robotaxi incident where a robotaxi hit someone in California. And that incident sort of underscored a serious vulnerability in autonomous vehicles' ability to safely navigate complex urban environments. And because of this, San Francisco actually filed a lawsuit against the California Public Utilities Commission which is the organization responsible for regulating autonomous vehicles in the state. And if that's not enough for you, look up the emergence of pilotless air taxis. That's something I came across the other day too, and that's a hard pass for me. But these are fully autonomous, unmanned quadcopters that'll, are basically your next-gen Uber. I want to mention just quickly a few examples here of things I've seen in the wild. Has anyone heard of Fractal Rabbit by any chance? Fractal Rabbit is, and not many people have heard of it, but it's out there. It's an NSA-developed open source project. It goes back maybe 2 years. But it was built to simulate human mobility patterns, generating realistic data on movement behaviors. And then their theory is that so by modeling sporadic adaptive choices, it was able to prove how predictive AI can anticipate even non-routine actions based on previous patterns, and then also demonstrate AI's growing ability to mimic complex human decision making. What's really interesting is I wasn't able to find much on this outside of the GitHub repo. So either it hasn't, updates haven't been released, or development has stopped happening, or it's working too well, and they realize that, us citizens can't have access to it anymore. Next one is called LIBM, and this stands for Latent Interface Budget Model. What this is in April of this year, a study from the researchers at MIT and University of Washington revealed this AI model that can accurately predict a person or machine's future actions. The study authors claim that LIBM is better than other previously proposed frameworks capable of modeling human decision making. Use cases that were tested against here is chess strategy modeling. So LIBM predicted players' moves by analyzing decision-making constraints and cognitive patterns, offering insights into strategic thinking and behavior. Maze navigation and problem solving, how individuals navigate mazes. Human-computer interaction, enabling systems to predict and adapt to human behaviors, creating more intuitive and responsive user experiences. The impact on humanity, deeper insight into how humans make decisions under cognitive and behavioral constraints, showing how AI predictions can assist in shaping policies and addressing large-scale complex challenges, having systems that better anticipate human needs and requirements, and optimizing user experiences. Again, back to the ethical concern, it raises the ethical questions about autonomy, personal consent, and the role of AI in influencing decisions. AI tooling, framework ability to better understand routines, behaviors, and communications, and philosophical views by predicting actions before humans are consciously aware of them. I'll end with this one, and this is probably some scary shit that'll keep you up all night tonight. Life to Vec AI. For me, this was more about, at what point do you draw the line in predictive algorithms? They claim to be an AI model designed to predict the time of death as well as financial aspects. And I don't know if you can see it in the fine print, but it does state, extensively researched by experts and rigorously tested, its calculator is highly credible, followed by the next sentence, in a fun and innovative manner. Individuals can access their health and receive targeted health advice. So I actually went through the steps of this, and it is more of a novelty, obviously, but and entirely falsified. But again, it's something that's out there, and with the predictive algorithms in place and how accurate they're getting, I wouldn't be completely surprised to see something more along these lines in the future. And you see it now in terms of some cases with insurance companies raising rates for active smokers, or car insurance rates for accident-prone individuals. And I think if pure data points exist, and become more widely available, I think we'll start seeing this be used more. Not truly for forecasting your demise, but because I think it's a corporate gold mine opportunity, to be honest. So, to sum things up, we've taken a look at AI's predictive potential and its possible impact on human lives, from medical implications to social applications, to more speculative existential concepts. Moving forward, it's critical for us to weigh in on the ethical implications, as always, as well as the practical benefits of predictive AI. We should be asking ourselves questions like, how do we measure AI's influence on human decisions? And how do we ensure AI supports human welfare rather than infringing upon it? And also, how can we enable AI acceleration from a 360-degree viewpoint with studying all of the use cases possible that are out there, or creating our own use cases? That future innovation and research should focus on developing responsible-based, human-centered AI systems. I think, lastly, if you want to take anything away from this talk, whether you believe in some of the concepts or not, is to basically talk about it, challenge yourself, read new theories, research that drops out there. AI is more than ChatGPT and Copilot. There's a lot that goes on behind it, and I want to reference a good friend of ours, Hutch, in a talk that he recently did, that he basically said to never dismiss the notion of science fiction. And for us, questioning the impossible, if you think about it, we're currently living in the era of 1980s science fiction today. We have flat TVs, we have cell phones, and back then, it was unfathomable. So, that taught me really to just never really look past any theories and take it, not serious. So, I think that's all I have. I appreciate everybody. I know we're out of time, but there's a lot to digest here. If you want to have a chat in the hallway, more than happy to. But yeah, thanks everybody. I'll put this back up in case you want to reach out.